What up, Dynasty players in the house? It's the Dynasty front office, part of the Dynasty Warzone Network. I'm your host, Jesse Schneeman. Please like and subscribe. 5-star review if you decide you want to. And I'm here with the three best friends anyone could ever have. And I'm going to go with the guy who's laughing the hardest. My main man, Chad Mendoza. How you doing tonight, Chad?
Is it that apparent? I was trying to hide it. No, the intros crack me up every time. I really enjoy them. It's probably my favorite thing on the pod, to be honest with you.
Y'all are just waiting for me to crack every word.
I mean, it never fails. So it's yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm ready to get this thing going, man. Excited.
Right on. All right. So also joining me tonight is Major Mike Casper. How you doing tonight, Mike?
What's up, Jesse? Kids are asleep, so couldn't be a happier time in the Casper household.
Ah, beautiful. I'm sorry, Professor Major Mike Casper.
Yes,
that's right.
Put some respect.
And the auspicious Austin Bell. How are you tonight, Austin?
Doing great, man. Doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. I mean, I couldn't be better. Like I said, I'm here with the three best friends anyone could ever have.
Well, I'm very proud of you. You've made it a full 90 seconds without bringing up the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. So good job. I'm gonna go ahead and get it out the way. Now, no more talking about it. Let's move on to the next topic.
I'll just give you a go, birds, and we'll give you the rundown. So tonight we do have our rookie player profile of the week. That is going to be Travis Hunter. And then we're just going to go through some team building principles. Austin's been up our asses for a long time.
That's right.
To do some strategy shows. So that's what this is. It's going to be kind of a free-flowing conversation. I think Austin and Mike have like some rules that they're going to go through. I've got my own thing that I'm going to talk about rebuilding and some tips and some tricks that I do. And then Chad's going to be Chad.
Yeah.
And
I just want to say I'm really glad you finished the sentence of that I've been up y'all's asses for a long time. Like, I'm really glad you didn't pause any longer than you did right there. Because I'm going to be honest, I was like, okay. But you did really good finishing the sentence, so I appreciate you.
Okay.
You probably didn't even realize it, but I was like, go ahead.
Did I pause?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if yeah, I'm allowed to say it.
It's all right. We made it.
Yeah, we did. It was good. I enjoyed it. The sentence, not the other part.
Yeah. We're not 3 minutes in. Okay. All right. Austin, do you want to introduce Travis Hunter to us?
No, but Mike does, because I need to know pronunciation of how to say his name.
It's Travis Hunter. No, it's Travis Hunter, University of Colorado. Take it away, Austin.
That's
Man,
official.
you didn't
Travis
give me
Hunter.
anything. I believe he is 6'2", 205. True junior, dual side athlete, which is ridiculous if we're going to be honest. Pretty good speed, 21.4 mile an hour, caught multiple times above 21 mile an hour. And the best part about him is we get to see him on both sides of the field. So we get to see like metrics is he has a closing speed of 6.9 miles per hour per second, which I know y'all are like, what the hell does that mean? But that's the fastest clock. That's the fastest clock speed in the last 10 years for a defensive back. There's things. It's just nonstop with him. His hip movement is ridiculous. I'm kind of hoping he does say I'm going to be a full-time receiver, because it's pretty wild the stuff he can do with his hips and knees movement coming in and out of breaks. That's probably my favorite thing about him. That being said, he's got really good hands. He has a better contested catch rate than Tet McMillan, and only has 4 drops since playing receiver at Colorado. So it's pretty damn impressive.
Holy shit. I didn't know that. That's a good one. 4 drops.
Wow. Is that a 205? Where'd that number come from? That's like a lot heavier than I thought he was going to be.
I'm not positive on that. I was hoping Mike was doing that. I didn't have it written back up. I thought that's what I remembered.
I thought he was
give me a
closer to
second.
180.
He looks
be
thinner
honest
to
with
me
you.
than that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree.
You're correct. Sorry, 6'1.5", 189 is the last registered weight and
Okay.
size. So thank you, Chad.
Well, we'll find out real soon, actually.
Yes, we will.
Chad, what do you think about Travis Hunter?
Yeah. Versatile player, explosive athlete. Guy is fun to watch, super fluid, all throughout his game, whether that's on defense or on offense. Like Austin was saying, I hope he ends up playing wide receiver full time, but we'll see how that goes. I think, man, his burst is something special. It's gonna be fun to watch him no matter what he does. If he's a two-way player, it's gonna be so interesting to see in different leagues how that operates. If people are gonna want to change scoring, because I think it's one of those things where a lot of people don't realize how many of their leagues have defensive scoring on currently for offensive players. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But yeah.
So if he does, we'll say best case scenario, he decides to play wide receiver only in the NFL. Yeah, he's my wide receiver one in this class. Just the athleticism, the fluidity, like you said, the ball skills are just tremendous. Hands are so good. Everything about him. Obviously, he needs a lot of polish. He hasn't concentrated just on that position, but you can see it. It's there.
Yes.
He's just natural at the position. That being said, there's three outcomes that I see right now, and that's he plays wide receiver only, he plays defense only, or he plays defense with a little bit of offense kind of sprinkled in, kind of like Dion or I don't know, Devin Hester. I guess Charles Woodson did a little bit, but you don't ever see a full-time offensive player just play snaps on defense.
Yeah,
it just doesn't really
fair.
make sense for a defensive player to just play a few snaps here and there, unless it's a pass rusher.
I mean, I don't think that'll be unheard of though, because he could go into a lot of nickel packages and play exclusively in that
Mm.
role and have nothing else to really do on defense and predominantly play offense. So it'll just be, I think it'll really depend on what
Maybe.
packages whatever team drafts him is
Yeah.
going to play and what the percentage of play they're playing in those packages, whether he can just come in part-time or not. But
Maybe dime or I mean, nickel is almost like a full-time starter at this point. I think nickel play like 70-80%.
yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, depending on what team you're playing, right? Like if he's a bigger guy, more athletic guy. He's a good matchup for some of the more dominant physical tight ends in the league. So it'll be interesting to see if teams utilize him to play some of those bigger body athletic tight ends on defense and just use him as a wide receiver. That's what I think I'd be most excited about.
Interesting. So play on offense and then be used as like just a specific like tight end stopper or a specific type of stopper on defense.
Yeah, I think he's a better corner currently.
Yeah.
I think he's borderline great at corner right now. I think he is good at receiver, but I see the ceiling for either position. And if hopefully the right team selects him to where we can see that potential be materialized. But I guess we'll see. I mean, the kid's electric. The hip movement is some of the best I've watched coming in and out of, especially those in-breaking routes. It's ridiculous. Like they just turn 90 degrees on a dime.
He's the only guy in this class that I would put in the category, like in the same class as the top 3 of last year. And actually, really, as it turned out, the top 4 of last year. And well, I guess you can make a case for 5, really, if you want to throw Ladd in there.
He's not my wide receiver one in this class. So
Yeah, me neither.
I disagree with that, but I do like him a lot. I do think he's better than, and I think he's a better prospect at wide receiver than probably the guys outside of that top 3 last year. Hindsight 50-50 with Brian Thomas, and I thought for me Brian Thomas was right there as a prospect, but I think he's probably would be in that grouping for me with that second tier.
I love his athleticism so much that I mean, really, it would take a full-time commitment though. There's so much baggage with him. I'm probably not going to actually get there with him as my wide receiver one this year.
Hmm.
I mean, the likelihood that he just comes out and says, "All right, I'm going to play wide receiver only." Team drafts him; they're only going to play him at wide. I think it's pretty low, don't you?
Yeah, I think he's too much of an asset on defense not to use him personally.
Mhm.
I think his ball skills are ridiculous. So being able to track the ball like he does, being able to jump routes like he does, playing the position, I'm sure that has to give him an edge of understanding when that guy takes that stutter step or that guy's shoulders are leaned one way. Like I know what that does because I play it. So I would assume he's going to play some kind of defense.
I think the most likely scenario is that he plays defense full time and then contributes on offense.
Yeah, because you didn't know special teams though, right? Like at all.
I don't think
right?
so.
Just
I would really
sure
hope not.
Yeah,
yeah. I just know like Dion was like punting kicks every once in a while, right? But I don't think Hunter.
Yeah, it was punt returner for sure.
Where would he go in an IDP? Do you guys think, especially if he is both ways?
If it's announced before, I would assume he's 101.
Even over Genty, yeah.
He needs to be. I mean, the ability to score 40 on either side is ridiculous. I mean, y'all all play IDP leagues. You know how easy 20-point games are for defensive players. So to have that floor of, let's just say 10 points for a guy that plays 70% of snaps on defense, and then all he needs is 2 or 3 catches, and you're looking at 15, 20 points every week.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah, it will be.
All right. Anything else on Travis Hunter?
Nope.
All right, let's get into it. So we've got some Dynasty team building principles for you. Who wants to go first here, Mike or Austin? You guys were talking earlier.
I'll let Mike start because I'm kind of
nobody wants Chad to go first.
No, we don't want your stuff. We'll let you talk off. I'll let Mike go because I'm a kind of spin off of what his is.
Yeah. So I'll kind of put two things, I guess, two of my principles together if we want, and we can discuss it because I know there'll be some disagreement on it. But just like in the last, I would say probably 3 years, my focus was one of my quarterbacks. We're talking super flex leagues here, right? I don't think I play in any 1 QB leagues anymore unless it's a redraft. We're talking Dynasty here. So, but my philosophy kind of is one top 5 QB, and then my QB2 is a top 10 QB. That's had a lot of success. I don't like to deal with the ups and downs of the middle tiers of quarterbacks. Yeah, some of them hit, Baker will move up, move down, and then move back up. It's just something I don't like to deal a whole lot with. I've got a lot of Mahomes. I've got a lot of Allen. I've got a lot of Hurts. I've got quite a few Lamar shares as well. And I feel like that's kind of been my edge that's honestly helped me break in championships, right? I don't win every single league that's like that, but I saw my dynasty success significantly change when I did that. And then just along those lines is I really don't care about QB3. And I don't stress about it because I feel like someone's always willing to sell, especially some of the middle tier pocket guys, whether it's the middle of the year or the end of the year. I know injuries happen. You might pay a little bit of a premium, but I've never had it be like just season ending because I lost my QB2 of, hey, I had to go pay for this guy. So I don't pay for a Will Levis or a Daniel Jones in the offseason because I only have 2 QBs. I feel like those were some of the examples from this last offseason. And I was like, no, I'll just stick with it. And in one league I lost Dak. But I was able to piece it together and, get Stafford and had Winston in there a little bit. So that's just kind of me. What's that?
Did you win that league?
I runner up.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
in the money.
Second place. Yeah. Well, actually, it was all or nothing, but we split the pot. So
okay,
I got lucky in that one. But That's my philosophy. It's worked out well for me. I'm just, so that's it.
All right, what do you guys think about
Fire
that?
holes in that.
Austin, you think you need a top 5 and a top 10?
I don't necessarily. I don't disagree, but I don't build my rosters with 2 elite guys. I mean, if you can, sure, that's awesome. But I kind of change mine a little bit. I want 1 elite quarterback, 1 elite wide receiver, and try, which this year sucked for this, but try to get one of the tight ends I don't have to question. That's kind of what I wanted. My main structure in my rosters, I want 1 of each. I don't care about the rest of the stuff. I feel like I can build around a roster that has 1 elite quarterback, 1 elite receiver, and a tight end I can play every week. So yes and no. I mean, getting the second guy is obviously a huge bonus where you can plug and play every week, but a lot of times those guys cost a ton, and you've got to be a really good roster builder to be able to have 2 of those and a championship contending team.
Okay, Chad, what do you think about this whole thing?
Yeah, it's one of those things where do you want to have? Is it easier if you have 2 top 10 quarterbacks, 1 top 5, 1 top 10 quarterback on your team? Of course, but that's something that you either get figured out in the startup, like automatically from day one, and from then on you're good until your guys age out with quarterback that's going to take some time usually, or you get lucky in the draft, right? You're not. I think in most cases you're not.
To be fair, I traded for these guys most of the time, like almost all the time, because I never have rookie draft picks. So like I would pay up for it, either on a contender or like if I'm starting to rebuild and I tear it down to the studs, I start with the elite QBs. I'm not going after an elite wide receiver right away. That's just how I do it. Like I said.
Yeah.
A majority of my teams though, like they're not dudes that I got in the draft or that I got in a rookie pick that I got lucky with.
Yeah. Well, where I was going with that is those are kind of your 2 options for like immediate success, right? The other one's going to be long term. It's going to be something where, like Mike said, you're either paying up or you're going, okay, I need to start a rebuild. I want to start it off with my quarterbacks, but those are all long term options. So yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense if you can get that done. It's just about asset allocation and where you can. Reading your league and saying, okay, does this make sense? Am I giving up too much and trying to follow this rule of 1 top 5, 1 top 10? Because that can be really pricey in some leagues. For a lot of people, that's just not going to make any sense to do. But yeah, in a league, if you can get that done and it come out where it's not costing you years of trying to compete, then yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to have.
So the one pushback I'll say is when I start a rebuild, and I'm going to go over some of this in a little while. I'm kind of covering some rebuild tips. I'm not looking at position, especially in the beginning of a rebuild. I'm just going after elite assets where I can get them. So I may start with, I have rebuilds that I started last year with MHJ, right? I didn't go after, I didn't force it. Maybe I should have. Because I would have ended up with Daniels or something like that. But like I said, I'm gonna not force it when it comes, especially to the beginning of a rebuild. I'll let that kind of come to me later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this is like the end all rule, like you got to do it right in every single rebuild. I'm just saying, that's where I found some of my success, because like the reason why I got Lamar was in the year he got injured.
Yeah.
The reason I got Dak, same thing. Was I was on a rebuilding team. That quarterback just so happened to get injured, got him at a little bit less of a price, but still pretty expensive. And then, here 2 years later, I almost went back to back in one of those leagues. So
I think you touched on something that I was going to go over with rebuilds, but I think it applies to any roster. If you can identify a player that's injured and you can pay less, an elite player or someone that's near elite, would be hard to acquire otherwise, like when Lamar was hurt. Kyler was a big one.
CD Lamb last year, right?
Yeah, Rashi Rice, Ayuk right now. If you can get those guys at a discount and can afford to wait for them to get healthy, more times than not, you're going to make a lot of money in Dynasty doing things like that. So, yeah, I have a lot of Lamar and Kyler because of that specifically. All right, Austin, what do you got?
I'm gonna go off of one that I like. I don't necessarily know if it's even the best strategy as just a dynasty manager, but it's something I really enjoy. And that's drafting and trading for guys you believe in. Whether it's everybody that on here has clowned me at some point over Elijah Moore. And like it's just somebody I believed in. Like at the end of the day, I thought he was a really good prospect. I've paid prices that I shouldn't have paid, and it didn't work. But there's been plenty of times that it has. And so the one when it does work, those things just feel so good. Like you're like, I knew this guy. Like Chad, I'll use
That
Chad
was
as an
Tyrone
example.
Tracy.
Yeah, I was literally about to say Tyrone
Yeah.
Tracy. I mean, he spit it up the whole offseason, was like, this is the guy you need, yada yada. And look, like you could make an argument that he's a top 12 RB. So like those things, it's just such a good feeling than just drafting the value or trading for the value. And like that's obviously important because that's how you build a strong roster. But it just Dynasty's about having fun. Like that's one of the main reasons I play it is because I enjoy it. And having the guys on your roster that are fun, that you believed in, and then they do boom, it's just a better feeling than most things in Dynasty for me.
Yeah. No.
And Mike, don't get me wrong. Just to kind of close that conversation out a little bit, I love having an elite quarterback at the top of my roster, and it absolutely is one of my strategies as well. So I want you to think I was just shitting on your strategy.
Oh, you're good. I don't mind. You shit on me all you want. That sounded Odell Beckham-ish. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just about to say, damn.
No, I agree with Austin though. What he had going, like having players you like on your team, I think is like most important of all. Like you're supposed to enjoy the game. Like I think winning's fun too, right? But you gotta. I mean, if you don't like the players, like if you think Rashee Rice is a shitbag, and don't have him on your team, right? Like if you don't want that guy, or if you're a Jerry Jeudy believer, like this podcast, right? Then just have him on all your teams. I'm just kidding. I'm just joshing, but
like every single person on this podcast loves Jerry Jeudy. But yeah, no, I
was a big Jeudy guy at one point.
I really like that, Austin. I really do. But for me personally, and like you alluded to with Tracy, I save that for my lower end side of my roster. The guys like Tyrone Tracy,
like the
guys,
third and fourth round rookie picks, not the I have this first round wide receiver every time. Yeah,
that's where I kind of go, and I find that joy in that side of building a roster and saying, okay, the guys that maybe cost a little bit less that I can go out and kind of hoard, but it's not costing me anything. And if I lose out and I have 60% roster share across my leagues of Tyrone Tracy and he ends up being a terrible running back, I'm like, didn't work out. It was fun while it lasted. But that's how I kind of approach it. I do that with a lot of guys. Some of the three that come to mind are Tyrone Tracy, like you guys said, the Bills wide receiver Khalil Shakir, and then Noah Gray were the three that I just have a crazy amount of shares of because I just really like those players, liked them coming out, and they've worked out, and that's fun. But there's been a ton of those guys that haven't worked out, and I went across all my leagues and just mass cut them, and didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. So
a really big example that keeps coming up in my mind is last April, May or whatever, when we were doing rookie drafts, and we were in a draft with Josh Audis and Mike Austin are both in this league, Double Deuce. And I took Brian Thomas. It's a 10-team league. So I took Brian Thomas with 203 or 204, something like that. He fell. And he sent me a 25 first for him immediately. And in my mind, I thought, well, that's a win. That's automatically, I'm getting a first for a second. That's a win. So I took it. But that's a player that he just really believed in. And later, Austin told me that he was doing that in all of his drafts.
Yep.
Anytime BTJ fell, I guess, to late first or early second, he'd offer a future first for him.
Yep.
That's a
He
player
paid me a
Yeah.
25 first and 25 second for him in a league as soon as I drafted him.
Yeah, I
And
mean
just
that's a
like you,
player.
I was like, oh, this is a win.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
just really
Yeah.
believed in that player. He knew he
Yep.
was going to be a stud, and he was right. And that there's no better win than
Exactly.
doing something.
And that's
like that.
exactly what I mean. Now, it can bite you in the butt the other way around, but
Jalen Rager.
Yeah. Oof, oh, why did you bring that up? Oof.
but
One of my
when
biggest busts.
when it doesn't, man,
Treylon
it's
Burks.
an awesome feeling.
Yeah, I was able to sidestep Burks and Christian Watson and Quentin Johnston and Kendrick Miller.
Oh, you mean 13 catch Quentin Johnson?
Whatever.
Um,
That guy's a paper tiger.
So I've got a topic that kind of, I think, goes off this just a little bit, is when you have a competing roster, like, I don't know, like sexy rosters, which I would define sexy rosters as like full of youth and, young guys that
An Austin Bell team.
they've got a lot of potential. I didn't want to call him out, but good job, Jesse. But
Doesn't hurt my feelings.
no, I mean, Austin's like, he's competing like every year, but I feel like it's full of all these guys with this super high potential, and just the majority of the time, like they just don't all reach it. And so,
That's right.
I don't want to call Austin like second place Austin, because I would love to be second place in every league.
But you just did.
but and I'm not saying like
Shots
Austin is doing it
fired.
wrong, right? Like, especially if he loves these guys, right? But I feel like I've never seen like the super sexy, damn, I love that team, look at all that youth, take the championship.
Oh, I've done it. I've done it a couple times in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I've got some
I
of
just
those,
did
but
it.
the
I just
variance
did it.
is way higher.
Yeah,
Patreon too-
it's just
Patreon too much.
you could dominate all year and then just have a complete shit sandwich, come championship round or something like that. Where
Mike, that league you've been chasing for so long, Patreon too. I just did it with one of those sexy young rosters. So rebuild roster.
I think there's an element of truth in that, but it's also more noticeable when that happens, as opposed to like somebody who has the really elite, roster in the league that just ends up still just losing in the championship or not even making it to the championship game,
28-0,
which happens
and
all the
they
time too.
Yeah, right. Like,
Yeah. So, but I think when somebody has like a really pretty team, when everybody in the league knows, oh man, this guy's team looks crazy, the amount of value on it is off the charts. You plug it into your stupid little Dynasty calculator league analyzer tool, and it's just like twice as big as everybody else in value, and you're like, oh man, this team's gonna win it all, and they end up losing, and it's just everybody in the league takes notice of that. But man, this game is so random, I think, across all my leagues and all the teams that I have. I mean, Jesse, in one of the leagues that me and you were in,
Darling.
my team is incredible, and I have like the highest points scored in the league and didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. All right. So that, you know what? Let me bring up a rebuild tip that I wanted to talk about anyway. So specifically, one thing that I did in that league, I wasn't necessarily rebuilding, but one thing that I will do is take a future first, especially in a rebuild, from a contender over this current year's first. If I know that your first is 110 to 112, I'm more apt to take your 26 first or your 27 first plus, because I'm getting a little more on top of it, because we all agree that future firsts aren't worth quite as much. I feel like I'm kind of getting a deal, and it could very well be a higher first. Things can happen. I did that with Chad. I traded him Kyron Williams for what I thought was going to be 112, and it turned out to be 106. So, which is, I mean, Kyron Williams gained value, but I think that's pretty fair at this point. 106 for Kyron Williams in that league, in a one running back league. But like I said, especially in a rebuild, when you have time to wait, don't be afraid to take a future first and maybe get a little on top of it.
Yeah, I like that. You don't have to be a rebuild contender. It doesn't matter. I love acquiring future first, especially on older rosters, because a lot of people will feel like, oh, I'm going to have my 25 first. I got to have it because my roster's old, but I could move my 26 first well, okay, well, there's a good chance that pick's going to be earlier.
Even
so
better, yeah.
Sounds good to me. And like you said, Jesse, you typically can get a little bit on top. So that's always a perk too. Now, yes, waiting is not a great thing, but at the same time, the pick's always going to gain value. It's the surest piece in Dynasty.
Chad, you usually push back when I say things like this.
No, I mean it's fine. It just depends on the league, the situation. It's not something that I do across the board in my leagues, but I understand that. I think plenty of people do that, where
But
they just
you
try
push
to
back
acquire.
and you say you can gain value by playing with that pick now.
Do you want me to
rather
argue
than-
with you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Because I will, but yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I think money in your pocket is always worth more, because I feel like if you are a good dynasty player, and this is my overarching analysis for good dynasty players. If you are a beginner dynasty player, it's not for you. But if you're a good dynasty player, I feel like you can do more with money in your pocket than you can something down the road that's maturing, right? So if I have something now that I can make several moves with, rather than having to wait until something gains more value in a year or two, then I want that. I want that. I want to be able to make moves. I want to be able to make as many moves as I possibly can, because I feel like my moves are going to be a net positive at the end of the day, and that's just how I play Dynasty.
That's fair.
finally, I was queuing you up on that forever, man. All right, Mike, you got another one for us?
Yeah, I think this is kind of an obvious one, but I have seen it done in a lot of leagues that I'm in. If you're an older roster, right? Don't make moves in the off season to get older players again, or early on. And I guess I say that because I've seen people do it, and then all these old guys get hurt, or half the old guys get hurt, and the other half sucks. Wait until your trade deadline, or if you don't have a trade deadline, week 13, 14. Yeah, you might miss out on, one or two trades in there, but as you get closer to the deadlines and stuff, it's more evened out on who's a contender and who's a pretender, who's really selling and who's not. Whereas at the beginning of the season, you might have, 8 teams that are like, well, I'm a contender, so you're not going to get this old guy for me, at this discounted price. But then, 10 weeks later, they're like, oh yeah, I'll give them to you for your, contenders first, or whatever the case is, because my team's complete dog crap. So just hang on to those. Don't throw them out too fast. I feel like, because I just see a lot of stuff happen before the season starts, and they don't have any picks or anything like that to maneuver with during the season, and it kind of pigeonholes you.
Yeah, agreed. See how it shakes out. Any player that you trade for, I mean, unless it's somebody that you think you need to get you into contention, I don't know. You really shouldn't be paying your first like that early in the year anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Wait to see how it shakes out. Any player can get hurt. Any player you trade for can get hurt. The closer you are to the ultimate game, the better chance you have that he'll be healthy.
And to kind of just, I think this kind of goes well together, because this is just kind of my general off-season strategy. So I'm glad I'm telling you guys everything that I do, right? And you're like, oh, I know how I can take advantage of Mike.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, right. So, but like in the off-season, I think making tiers of players is important. Make your own tiers, listeners, because like, for instance, say I have Jamar Chase and say I have Brian Thomas in the same tier. And I'm not saying this trade's going to happen, right? But I would, probably trade Chase for Brian Thomas plus a first, right? So you're just gaining, I like to tier down, where I'm getting a guy that I think points per game wise is close or very negligible, right? Plus I'm getting a first on top of that I can either play around with, to upgrade a QB or, in the middle of the season or at the end of the season to get that last piece I need to make my final push. I like to do a lot of that in the off season. So that kind of just goes together with
Doing tiers is great, because you can figure out where you're higher than the community or the market. So like you just said, you may have BTJ and Chase in the same tier for production, but BTJ and a first for Chase, a lot of people wouldn't move Chase for that. But if you get that offer and you're like, hey, I'll send Chase for BTJ in the 106, and to you, scoring wise, oh heck yeah, that's awesome. So you're like, cool, I'll take it, and then you use the 106 to upgrade your roster somewhere else because you believe that points per game difference is, like you said, negligible. I like that idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it with Chase. But
I'm not saying you got to do that one. I was just pulling crap out of my head, right?
So, yeah, I like the idea in general. So
just an off-season thing I do. So.
Going back to trading players too early. So something I've seen, especially players in a rebuild, one thing you don't want to do is when you draft a rookie, I see a lot of players, dynasty players, trade their guys in training camp before you've even seen them get to the field because they got a little spike, right? So if your rookie that you drafted is getting hyped now in training camp, just because you think you're getting a little bit more for him now, hold on to him and wait for him to truly break out and see what you can get for him then. Follow what I'm saying? Or just see where your value goes. Just beware of trading a rookie before he's ever played a game. I've seen it really blow up.
I think it depends. If I'm being honest, I mean, I've seen a lot of hype players where I can't wait to get them off my roster. I hate to bring up, sorry, Austin, Elijah Moore. I traded every Elijah Moore share I had before that season started because this hype just got so intense where, it was a player where I'm, and correct me if I'm wrong, weren't we getting him around like 201, 202 consensus pretty much?
Yeah, he was the mid early second.
Yes. And I mean, by the end of training camp, he was going for like, mid first. It was one of those things where, I mean, it just didn't make sense to take the risk on him at that point. So I moved every single share I had of him across all my leagues. And I think I had quite a number of them at that point. So I think it just depends. If you're seeing a little bump, it's a player you really believe in. He's in a good situation and he's just doing what he's supposed to do. That's cool. But man, if I got a player like Elijah Moore, first year head coach, first year quarterback, with a rookie wide receiver, I mean, him being a rookie wide receiver, I mean, that's a ton of risk on the table right there already. If I can make a little bit of profit off of that across my leagues, I'm doing it.
What if you did that with Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, I mean, of course it could. Yeah, I mean, every move has room for it to backfire, right? But at the very least, you still got plus what you paid for plus, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't really lose out. At the end of the day, you miss out on the player, yeah, but there's always going to be tomorrow. You can make more moves. So I mean, it's one of those things where you have to look at the situation independently and say, hey, does this make sense? Sometimes with a quarterback, right? If a quarterback's getting more hype and he's a highly drafted quarterback who's going to have time, then yeah, I'm going to hold on to him. But wide receiver is one of those positions where if they don't play well right away, especially nowadays, they're going to see a value drop. Quarterback is a little bit more protected. Running back is extremely, extremely vulnerable to that drop. And so that's another one where if I'm seeing a player get a ton of hype in training camp and his value shooting up, I'm starting to think, okay, is this a guy I should be pulling the trigger on, trying to get a little bit of value before he hits the field?
I do like the idea of like a second rounder jumping up into a first round. I did that with Kadarius Toney. I had a couple of shares. I really want to have those shares, but yeah, as soon as he started gaining first round value, I traded him all away. I made a lot of money. So yeah, that's a good point. Just beware of your high end talent, though.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what you were saying, and me and Chad both were like, because those second, thirds, and fourths, get them out of there if there's hype. More times they're not going to hit. But like the Jamar Chases, when the value dip, don't get scared and move.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you're saying, and that's how I take it at least.
Yeah, when he was having the drop season.
Don't
sell him for less than you just got him for when he hasn't even stepped on a real football field for a real game yet, right?
Yeah, like don't move off your great talents when a little bit of spike. Move off your to good talents when there's a spike.
Yeah, there's a big difference between like, you drafted Jamar Chase at what was he being drafted at? I don't quite remember.
Roughly. It was after the QBs.
Yeah, so 103, 104, somewhere around there. You draft him. and he has a great training camp, which he didn't, but let's just say in our hypothetical made up world, he had a great training camp, and he was getting a ton of hype, and people were like, "Oh, I'll give you what should be a early first and a second next year," right? I mean, no, right? Like, this is what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to be good, right? This is what you drafted him for. So that's different. But I think you just got to pick and choose your battles with that one.
Right on. All right. You got another one for us, Austin?
Yeah. Let's maybe pick which one. This isn't really doing with anything specific, but I really like to maintain consistent communication in my leagues with people, like trade partners. I built a lot of what I would call friendships, at the minimum acquaintanceships, through fantasy over the 8-9 years I've been playing Dynasty now.
Hell, that's how we all got together.
Exactly. So like,
So-
I think it's vital as a manager to know who you're dealing with. So, don't just send a trade offer and, hey, do you like this? Hey, do you not like this? Try to get them to open up. Before you know it, they're sending paragraphs and y'all are talking about your favorite hobbies. And like, then the next time you want to make a trade with that person, you don't have to just send a blank trade. You can say, hey man, I'm interested in this player. Is there anybody on here in the same value range that you like? And it becomes a lot easier to get trades done this way. Now you can also learn the bad apples, but then that's cool. You just cut them out and you don't make a trade with them. But it feels like a really good way to keep an active league going and finding good people that you enjoy talking with.
I literally can't make a trade with you, Austin, if I don't DM you first and explain myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's because of our past, and it just is what that is. So like, that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
But because you know me, you know what it takes for that. And if you didn't, you would just get rejections, just cold rejects, and that would be the end of it.
I mean, I do get that from you.
That's fair.
I'm with Austin. Take advantage of everybody's emotions and your personal relationships, and where you can screw people over and manipulate them. Do it. Yeah, I mean, take advantage of everybody, right? This is a cool world out here.
You may take it that way, but I'm building friendship over here.
Chad, spoken like a true New Yorker, by the way.
Yeah.
Good job representing.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think I've kind of strayed away from this a lot just because I commission a lot more leagues now and I'm in a lot more leagues now. So I feel like I don't have the time to like sit there and explain myself away and away. And like, it's not like I don't get butthurt or anything like that from, crazy offers. I mean, Chad will just go and go and go. And I'm like, I think we just disagree, dude. It's okay. But that's my thing to go along with that is just don't be a dick. It's fantasy. It's fake players, right? That we own. It doesn't have to be an emotional event just because you don't agree on value.
Well, we have all learned through experience that the best way to decline a chat offer is to just decline it. Don't say anything. It will be used against you later.
Yes. I was actually trying to find that. I was trying to find that quote, Chad, actually in our DMs. I don't know if it was in a text, but it's definitely not in their sleeper DMs. Apparently, I told Chad.
No, it's in text. I have it screenshotted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't find it.
It's my phone. It's my phone screensaver.
Yeah, it's your wallpaper.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I bet it is.
The infamous LOL nah.
When Chad's trying to get his pick back from me.
And
he got it anyways. And I won the championship. We all win.
I will say on the other side of that, Austin, sometimes when I really want to sell a player, I will just go through every single roster that I think has a need for that player or fits at all on that roster. And sometimes it's just the top 6 teams and send them what I think is a fair offer.
Of course. But I would assume you've built some kind of relationship with that person already. So you're not just sending a blind offer to somebody you never talked to. Because those don't typically work.
No, I will just spam offers for guys that I'm trying to get rid of sometimes.
That you've never spoke to?
Yes.
Because to me, those don't work. Like I hardly ever, with the managers that I don't talk to, They don't ever just accept the trade.
It does happen for me sometimes, and also what I'll do, which also helps, is I'll at all of them. I'll send out 7
Oh,
offers and at all of them so that they know that they all have offers and are competing against each other for this player.
So what you're saying is they know they all got the same shit offer, that they can just laugh
No.
at each other in the messenger.
I did say what I think is a fair offer, Austin.
You know what though? Surprisingly, Jesse, I think you're the one person that every single time I send you an offer, almost every single time I send you an offer, I try to explain why I sent it. Because I think you always think I'm trying to like manipulate you or something.
It's not that I think that, Chad. It's that I know you and know that you are.
But I'm
do me
not.
a
I'm
favor,
not. I'm trying to
Jesse, and
send.
put this last comment up on here, because this is just gold from my man David Donaldson. I need that on there. This is why I don't trade with Jesse.
But that's a
I'm not the
lie.
only one.
That's a lie. Y'all make, every one of you make trades, multiple trades with me every year. Donaldson trades with me.
That's true.
Well, but you made me sign the contract before I joined, so like I kind of have to.
No peeks behind the curtain, Austin.
Oh
No, but I really do think there's something to it, Austin, because what's your point at least, because we get so many trades just because we have such a great relationship with each other, all 4 of us. We get so many trades done between the 4 of us. So many trades done. It's
Sure.
actually pretty nuts looking back across leagues and seeing how many trades we get done between each other. And we're all good Dynasty players. We all want to win. Not each and every respective trade at the end of the day, but we want to win, our leagues. So we're all making really smart, savvy moves, or what we consider to be that. And we get a lot of deals done that we think are win-wins. So I like it.
I mean, obviously, I'm a relationship guy. That's what I do. I mean, that's how I've gotten to where I am professionally, and that's how I've gotten to where I am in Dynasty. So it's great advice. It really is. All right, we're getting kind of late. Do you guys want to Chad, do you have one you want to throw out?
So my overarching rule in Dynasty, the one steadfast rule that I hold myself to, and I check every single year, multiple times a year, is that I'm staying around at a max, and this is strictly for the players that hold the significant value, that I'm staying at a max of 25% share across my leagues. I never want to be over encumbered with a certain player across my leagues, and they do an Andrew Luck or something more that could happen more likely, like they get injured or something like that. Deshaun Watson, yeah. So one of those kind of things where you're losing value across the board, it's a little bit harder to recover from. Whereas, if it's just 25% of my leagues, then I can come back, or 35%. I usually do 25 to 35%. Then I can come back and say, okay, I can focus on these leagues, recover in these leagues, not worry about my other ones as much if it's something catastrophic, right? So that's something I like to do. I've had pretty good success with. The players that don't really fall into that category are your waiver wire ads, your 3rd, 4th round picks. That really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But when you're talking about guys like Jamar Chase, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, I never want to be at a 60% market share of those guys. Because then if anything happens, Mahomes goes down in value, he's going down everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Josh Allen gets hurt, serious injury, goes down for a significant amount of time. It's across the board, right? So that's what I like to avoid personally.
Yeah, I have the perfect example. Last year when Joe Burrow got hurt, I was contending in 14 leagues, and I had him in 9.
Ouch.
And it instantly just destroyed me. And I didn't even realize it, to be honest. Like I knew I bought a ton of Joe Burrow when he got hurt after his rookie year. So I guess maybe that was why, but man, it destroyed me. Like I had to move shares for cheaper than I wanted. It's a really good rule that I need to implement more myself. But it's also hard for me to do because I get attached to the guys that I like. So, it makes it a lot
that's
harder.
where you can trade in the tier, right? And
Yeah.
Do all the other
Mhm.
things.
It's a constant process, and that's why I said like I check multiple times a year, because what I like to do is I like to do it in the off season, the middle of the season, and then the end of the season. and that way I can reevaluate, because sometimes you are going to have a guy like Joe Burrow go down, and then you just acquire a ton of shares while his value's low, and then at the end of the season you're like, oh crap, I'm sitting at 65% share across my leagues. I need to start working on going down, knowing his value, or getting down to my 35%, knowing his value is going to go back up here in a little bit. So as soon as I see his value start climbing and people are looking for more Joe Burrow shares, then I say, okay, well, what's some other comparable quarterbacks I can start making moves for, and maybe start, trying to get my numbers down a little bit. And sometimes it's not, it's a lot easier said than done, because it's not always easy to trade those kind of elite players, but you can get it done if you're in enough leagues, and you're in good leagues where people are active. You can get it done. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. Right
Yep,
on.
for sure.
Sorry, just to go along with that, Chad, just for maybe some of the listeners that haven't done it before, what are some of the like tools that you use to figure out your roster shape?
I used to use Dynasty Planet, which was a free tool, but it hasn't been working for me lately. Now I don't remember the name of the site. I literally just type in rostership Dynasty, and one of those sites pop up, and then you just plug in your sleeper ID, and it'll usually pop it out. You don't even have to get any kind of paid platform. Anybody telling you do, that's absolutely false. You can just Google. I think there's 2 or 3 sites out there that you can plug in your sleeper username. You don't even type in your password or anything, just your sleeper username. It'll download your leagues, and then you can
As the
you can
tech
get your
guy,
stuff that way.
please don't put your password in.
Yeah.
Don't to the league. If something asks you for that, don't do that. Like you said, there are multiple that have just a username. So if they ask for your password, just leave and go to the next one. Do not put your password in.
I just use Dynasty Nerds.
That's
I
what
have
I
it for the all 22 anyway. So
Yeah, that's a paid one. If you got that, they do that. But there's plenty of free ones out there. Don't feel like you have to pay a platform money for that.
I just found one, Dynasty Daddy. That was one of them.
There you go.
Yeah, that's one of them. That's
my
one of
website.
yeah, I've used that one.
I'm just kidding.
So one thing I want to throw out there real quick is this time of year, especially, I like to pick a couple players that I think are going to are pretty good bet to gain value next year. Some of them are players that I like, that I think are in situations that are going to get better, and some of them are just players that I think have the talent, maybe coming off injury, made a lot of money. I mentioned Kyler earlier, and Lamar. I've done quite a bit with those guys, but I did it with lesser players like Cortland Sutton and Ramondre and Kadarius Toney, just kind of riding the market, buying a player when they're low. Right now, I really like Hawk this offseason. Also Dalton Kincaid, especially since I read that he played at least, I think it was at least half the year on a torn PCL in his knee. So, if I can justify in my mind a legit upgrade in his production next year and pay less than I think, that production is worth, then I might go for it. Kincaid's a little touchy because people are going to still have him, rated pretty highly because they paid a lot for him. One player I really like in that range, though, this offseason is Demario Douglas. You won't have to pay much for him. Really like him as the slot guy in McDaniel's offense. If you're paying a late second for him, I think that gets it done easily. And you're really not paying a lot to take the chance that he could take off. It's a player that's already shown something in the NFL. That position has shown that it can be ultra productive in the NFL. Obviously, he's not Wes Welker, it's not Tom Brady, but you can see a blueprint, and he's got what I think is a stud quarterback to throw to him. Also, I've been kind of throwing these players out all year, but I also kind of like Michael Wilson to gain some value this offseason.
I think he tanks. I think they take a receiver.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
But it costs you a third to get him. So,
yeah.
I have easy
some
speculation.
I have one more that commissioners, myself included, are going to hate, but I'm at the point where just stay and join leagues that you enjoy. Don't just stay in them because you feel obligated. It makes the league worse. And like I said, I commission multiple leagues. I know we all do, and it sucks when people leave. I hate it. It makes me sad. But man, when people don't enjoy them, they're not active. Trades don't get done. They don't see trades. They don't make waiver wire moves. And all of a sudden, you've got 4 people in the league that don't look at the league. And it makes it worse. So if you don't enjoy it, apologize and leave. Now, that being said, if your roster is bad, be a real person and pay for future years. At least with how many first you've sent out at the minimum. At the minimum. But if you know you're not have a good roster, pay 2 years in advance and say, sorry guys, I'm out. Hopefully the next person does better. But don't just sit there and be a void manager that's just paying dues every year and not doing anything. It makes the league worse.
All right, good advice. Maybe I should take a look at some of my leagues.
I did it this year. I felt bad. I hated it. I paid money out, but I left, I think, 9 leagues this offseason. And some of them sucked. Some of them I wasn't a good manager. And it just is what it is. Like, I hate it, but now I'm down to 12 leagues, and all of them I enjoy. I feel like I'm invested in every league.
Yeah,
So?
I actually agree 100%. And it sucks being a commissioner, finding you guys.
Yeah.
But also, if there's too much league turnover, it maybe sometime. I mean, we looked at one this offseason that I was commissioned. That one dude wasn't there all season, and like I didn't even notice as a commissioner because I was in so many leagues. Yeah, maybe that makes me just a crappy commissioner and things like that. But there were a lot of people that just had the same feeling. It was like, all right, guys, well, we paid a year in advance, so we'll give everyone the year in advance back, and fold the league, or someone can create a new one if they want to. Like everyone always loves to do startup things like that, but I feel like every year somebody gets in a little bit over their head, and I know I did because last offseason I was like, yeah, I kind of want some rebuilds. And I did some rebuild stuff during the offseason, but then I was like, well, shit, I'm in like 22 leagues. Like this is crazy. You're stupid, Michael. Like you got 4 kids, you're doing your MBA, and you're, like, slow down, figure it out. So, but yeah, just pay ahead, or don't expect to get your money back if you did pay ahead. I don't think you should. Don't want to leave a league in a bad position. I don't think you should.
All right, guys. Good advice all around. Hopefully you guys take heed. Hopefully it helps you holistically build your rosters. Anything else before we move to the last segment?
Mm-mm.
All right. Last weekend, it's just been frigid cold on the East Coast, so we're not going out, stuck in the house so much. We watched 2 movies recently released streaming. We watched Nosferatu and Gladiator 2. So it made me think of a question for y'all. Is I want to hear a good movie and a bad movie that you've seen recently. For me, the good one was Nosferatu. I really liked it, even though I don't want to spoil anything because it's pretty new, out on streaming. So, storyline kind of reminded me of the other movies, kind of, but overall it was pretty unique and a couple jump scares, but just a really creepy vibe, and just stuck with me for a day or two. A movie's good if you keep thinking about it after a day or two.
Yeah.
But then on the other end of the spectrum was Gladiator 2. Good Lord. Oh my God.
It wasn't great.
I mean, I was drinking, so I had a good time. My wife went to bed before it was over. She couldn't even get through it. It literally jumped the shark somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, good one.
So that's the bad one for me. How about you, Mike? You got good one and a bad one?
Yeah, the good one I watched, and honestly, we haven't even finished it yet. But my wife and I, we got 4 kids. I'm in my late 30s. She just turned 40. We found this movie on Netflix called This Is 40, and we cannot stop laughing because it is the story of our lives. So if you're married with kids and you're in your 30s, you should watch it because oh my gosh,
is that the Paul Rudd movie?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's a good.
I have
movie.
never
that.
seen
That
it
is
before.
very good. Yeah.
Usually don't watch stuff like that, but I was like, oh my gosh, like this is pretty classic.
That's a Judd
Paul Rudd's
Apatow.
great.
That's a Judd Apatow movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really good movie.
Well, no, when he's sitting in the bathroom
Taking a shit. That's me, man. That's me. But and then one that was just disappointing was Squid Game season 2.
Yes.
I won't do any spoilers, but it was very disappointing from the first game. Again, I get it. It's hard when you've got a classic, like just awesome show to like follow up in the next season. But holy crap, man, was that disappointing.
I'll tell you what though, like if season 3 is really, really good and it ends on a really good note, then I feel like season 2 will just be viewed as like a bridge and it'll still be like a successful series.
Yeah,
That's fair. That's fair.
I was going to ask you, Mike, is it because it cut off without a resolution and we still have another half season to go?
Yeah.
Is that why you didn't like it?
But don't even call it season 2.
Okay, spoiler. Yeah.
Is it because the one guy goes to that one room and then
and one guy gets shot?
All I'm saying is it's a cliffhanger.
So funny story. So my wife, when she saw the first Lord of the Rings movie in the theaters, she knew nothing about the books. And she had no idea there was 3 books. So she was pissed at the end of the first movie. She lost it.
I guess so, after 3 hours.
She loves them all, but she's like, I just sat through 3 hours of that for this. Like, no resolution at all.
I
like, come on, man. Books have been out for a while, so it's on you, kind of.
Chad?
Bad one. Oh, Megalopolis. But I feel bad saying that this movie is so bad that it is probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. It's so bad, and the cast. Let me bring up the cast. I think the movie was had one of the biggest budgets of the last several years for movies. Let's see how much they spent on this movie. They spent $120 million on this movie. That was the budget for this movie.
People, holy smokes!
Yeah, and the cast is insane. It is insane. But it is the most confusing, horrible movie I've ever seen in my life. Literally, I sat through that movie. If you right now asked me what it was about, if you asked me to spoil the movie, I could not. I don't know what it's about.
Wow.
All right,
I'm so confused.
I literally just Googled Megalopolis, and under people also ask, it says, is Megalopolis a good movie? It says Megalopolis.
My first one says, what is the point of Megalopolis movie?
Is chaotic,
what is the plot?
But it initially feels as though Coppola is in control of it. And then unlike a certain empire, blah, blah, blah. No.
I don't know what happened in the movie. I don't know what it's about. I'm like, wait, like what did I just watch?
Yeah,
what happened here?
What is the point of Megalopolis?
It feels this is the experience that you get when you sit in the movie. This is the only spoiler I can give. This is what you will feel when you're watching this movie. It felt like somebody directed a really visually stunning movie with a great cast and some interesting, nutty, kind of off the wall dialogue, and then cut it up into scenes, put the scenes on the floor, scattered them around, and then put them together at random.
Oh, are they talking about? Yes. Are they talking about Sofia Coppola? Is that who directed it? I guaranteed that's exactly right. It's the same with that Bill Murray movie that she directed. Where
it's Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, okay. Well, his daughter can't direct. Shit. Can't stand the movies.
But yeah, no, I would say it's so bad it's worth a watch because it's the most confusing experience you'll ever have.
Right,
but yeah, this one's actually a show, but I'm watching Severance season 2, and I think the Severance as a series. I'm only 2 episodes into season 2. It just started. It's on Apple TV for those of you that haven't gotten into it yet, but I think it's the best show I've ever seen.
Whoa,
Lord!
It's really, really good.
2 or 3 of the first season and I couldn't get into it.
No, you got to keep watching it. You got to keep watching it. It's one of those that builds, and it's incredible, and the symbolism and stuff in the show. If you really pay attention to it, if you're one of those people that really enjoys film, and nuances in film and all that it's an incredible. Even if you don't, it's a very enjoyable show. But if you like the little nuances, then it's one of those that you can watch episodes over and over again and catch new things. It's pretty incredible.
Austin, what do you got for me?
I'm agree with Mike on the bad. The season 2 was just felt like a waste of time on Squid Games.
Wow.
I stayed up all night watching it too, so maybe I'm just a little.
Yeah,
salty.
I did it 2 nights. Same thing. And good. We watched this a little while ago, but I'm gonna use it because it was so good. It's an Apple TV show as well called Presumed Innocent. It's a Jake Gyllenhaal. He's a DA in Chicago, I think it is.
Oh,
And he's actually accused of a murder, and the show is basically him trying to presume that he's innocent and show that he is. And obviously, there's a lot to it. It's a really good show, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't believe what happened at the end when it did. So one of those shows that it's got a twist at the end, but every episode I was kind of just glued to it.
All right, I'll check it out.
I saw the preview for that. It looks really good.
It is.
Is Apple TV going to be the new HBO? Because they're bumping up some really good shows.
I've
They're
never
interesting.
watched Apple TV.
They have
Like,
really good TV shows.
Well, yeah,
Really
HBO,
good shows.
HBO shifted from that policy anyway. They're just pushing out crap now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't make a
yeah.
small amount of good shows anymore.
Yeah, Apple TV is almost what like HBO was in mid 2000s. That's what it's starting to feel like. Is the shows they're putting out are like it's nothing but hits. It's
Yeah.
just quality
I agree.
shows.
Almost everything out, it's good.
Right on. All right, guys. Anything else?
That's it.
That's perfect.
All right. That's been the front office.
Peace.
Later.